Hello, I am Dr. Gursharan Singh, currently serving as Dean of Agriculture Sciences at the RIMT University. Today, I shall be speaking about the safe storage of food grains under the title, "A grain saved is a grain produced." Now, in India, we annually produce around 256 million tons of food grains, and the post-harvest losses, they are around 10%. Unfortunately, these 10% losses are static at 10%. And before I discuss that, let me share what we include in the post-harvest losses. The losses during harvesting, the losses during threshing, the losses during storage, losses during transportation, during marketing, and so on. While in the post-Green Revolution era, there was a tremendous increase in the production of food grains, but at the same time, the losses also remained static at 10%. That means the dismal situation is that more we produce, more we lose. Or in other words, do we produce more to lose? So this is a serious issue. And still more serious is that about 6% food grains are lost or damaged during their storage. Now all of us, we know about the FCI, Food Corporation of India. It came into existence in the year 1965. Let me share with you what the FCI admitted about these losses in response to an RTI. During a decades period from 1997 to 2007, over 1 million tons of food grains were wasted despite all our effort to limit the damage. Now, as per WHO guidelines, a minimum of 250 grams food grains is required per person per day to survive. That means this much food grains which we have lost, which we are losing as per the FCI admission, could have been sufficient to feed over 10 million people for a year, which are rather rotted in FCI godowns. This damage occurred in spite of the fact that FCI is spending rupees 242 crores on attempt to prevent the loss during storage. So this is the scenario, what is happening. And over the years, situation did not improve. In response to another RTI, the FCI again admitted wastage of as much as 1,94,000 and around 500 metric tons of food grains during the period between 2005 to March 2013. Now, the issue is inadequacy. That means we have inadequate infrastructures, facility for storage of food grains. And if we have that, also the facilities are not up to the mark these should be. Due to insufficiency of covered storage capacity, when I say covered storage capacity, that means in proper godowns, we do not have it. Only we have that facility for 40% of our grain produced, but about 60% of this is stored under cover and plinth, which is an ad hoc arrangement. That means there is a plinth, then the gunny bags are stacked one over the others, and then it is covered with the tarpaulin like this. And see what is happening in our state, the grain bowl of India. We have about 90% of it is stored under cap. So that means we do not have facility for proper storage of about 90% of food grains which are stored under cap. When we stored under cap, cover and plinth arrangement, it's more prone to the moisture, to the rats, to the insects, to the molds, other microorganisms. So once Punjab Agro Food Grain Corporation had floated tenders for disposal of about 1,64,000 metric tons of damaged wheat unfit for human consumption. So first we let it rot, and then to dispose it off, again the money is spent. So this is the situation. Now anyone would just weep at the state of affairs. You can see the gunny bags, you can see the grains pouring out of that, you can see the grain being damaged, you can see the man standing on the damaged gunny bags, and still worse, in the lower picture you will see the grains are germinating over there. Such is state. Do we really produce to waste these grains? Still another picture. The water is there, and you see it's a poor cover and plinth arrangement. The plinth is also not proper. Then this is happening. Then see in the picture below this. This is the scene of a grain market Mandi, what we call. You can see the grains filled in the gunny bags, and there was rain, and how the water is being removed from there by the farmers, and we do not, that means that speaks volume of what sort of arrangement we have got even in the grain market. It's large inadequacy and improper of things concerning the infrastructure of the food grains during marketing, during storage, and later on as well. Now we need to see also the glass not half empty but half full also. Of course, in many situations there are facilities are quite good. You can see that how the grains are properly stacked, how they are properly covered, and this could be the ideal situation for the safe storage of grains. Because one thing very important is that grains the golden rule is that store the grains dry, moisture content should be less, and then here we control it by the fumigant which we call phosphine. I will talk later about this fumigant. That's the only alternative with us. Now looking at this situation, one will wonder, is crop protection more important or crop production? Of course, there is no question of crop protection if we don't produce, but in the situation that we are in, really we need to think more about the crop protection. Every grain produced need to be saved. The magnitude of grains that we lose in the post-harvest operations, particularly in storage, if we could save that, that means we will be ushering in another green revolution. We could feed the millions of hungry stomachs, and that's why I am saying grain protection could be the key to the second green revolution. Similarly, it's not only with the safe storage of food grains. In the past few years, there was a whitefly epidemic on cotton. You see the number of suicidal deaths that occurred because the farmers could not bear the damage caused by this whitefly. That is single small insect. So are the grains. So protection becomes very, very, very important. It is not that only a citizen is worried about the state of affairs, not that only academicians are worried, not that the farmers are losing their revenue, but taking a note of this dismal situation, there was a directive of the Supreme Court of India in the year 2010, and what they concluded was, they said in inverted comma, there was ensure free distribution of food grains to the hungry poor of the country, instead of it, grains going down the drain. I have written certain pieces for this paper also, how to check the grain drain. That means if we are unable to raise the infrastructure for a proper storage of the food grains, then why don't to just distribute among the hungry poor of the country? This is what the Supreme Court said. This is what was directive of the Supreme Court. Now, for the safe storage of grains, what we need, or what are the factors which are concerned with the safe storage of whole grains? The grains have to store dry, the moisture content should be less, our godowns or receptacles, they should be made infestation free, which we call prophylactic measures. And then curative measures, we need to know how to control the infestation of insect in the stored grains. Here lies the responsibility of entomologist, the scientist who is concerned with the insect pest control. Now, not talking much about the method of controlling the stored grain insect pests of various kinds. Let me share with you the only alternative with us is use of a fumigant, and fumigant that we are using, that is phosphine. Phosphine is a gas, it is heavier than air. So sometimes people just keep on pushing the tablets deep into the grains. It is not required. The gas is heavier than air and it will go down automatically. This phosphine is available in the market in the form of aluminum phosphide tablet, and there are pouches also. This aluminum phosphide is available in various trade name, phostoxin and several others. Now this aluminum phosphide, when it reacts with the water, it releases ultimately aluminum oxide and phosphine gas. This is the gas which is a neurotoxicant, and I will share you later on that it's very important to use this gas or the aluminum phosphide tablets either by an expert or under the supervision of an expert. This is the physiological mode of action, that how the phosphine affects our nervous system, the cells. This phosphine, it's easy to apply, cheap, and no effect on the grain quality if the exposure period is 7 days. When I say 7 days exposure period, means when we use this, we want that gas should be there for 7 days for proper effect. That means there should not be any leakage. We have to keep whether it's a bin or it's a big room or it's a small receptacle, we are to ensure that it is in the airtight, so that no air, there's no leakage. After 7 days, you can just open it and use it. So there are other techniques also which are under experimental stage for direct application of gaseous phosphine from cylinder or on-site generation sources, but it needs expertise and it's expensive also. So all state agricultural universities in the country, they have done research, and a very world famous university we have, Punjab Agricultural University Ludhiana, which has suggested various measures, preventive and curative. But in both the situations we are using phosphines. So under preventive measures, fumigate the godowns for storage using 25 tablets of aluminum phosphide per 100 cubic meter of empty space before storing the grains, and given an exposure period of 7 days. In the curative measures also, phosphine or delicia or sulfus, these are trade names of aluminum phosphide I was talking about. 1 tablet of 3 grams per ton or 25 tablets per 100 cubic meter space. So this is how we can use the preventive measures and then curative measures to store this. But there are some issues associated with this as well. Limitation, because this is a common observation or rather effect, that when we use some insecticide or some chemical or some poison to control or kill insects, the resistance develops. That means if the insects were killed with 1 tablet of 3 grams, then we will need up to 10 tablets. So there are different kinds of serious stored insect pests to which the resistance can develop. This is one limitation, we have to take care of it. Then this is also called lover's killer poison. Many years back there was a study by PGI Chandigarh that 80% suicidal deaths, they are due to the deliberate consumption of this aluminum phosphide tablets. and it is such a strong neurotoxicant or toxicant that sometimes even if patient is taken to the hospital within 2 hours or so, the survival chances are very less. Why then called lovers killer poisons? The lovers who had been attempting the suicidal deaths, in most of the cases, they used for this purpose this aluminum phosphide tablets. That is why its sale in the market to a common man is not encouraged, or rather they are advised not to sell it. It should be used by an expert or under the guidance of an expert. Then another area where I was also involved in this research, use of biogas for controlling the insect pests. What is biogas? Biogas is produced from the cow dung and have about 60% methane and 30 to 35% of carbon dioxide. Biogas fumigation does not affect seed germination, seedling vigor, or grain quality and grain cooking quality. This has been proved through research. But the big limitation is, who will use biogas? The one who has the biogas plant in the premises of his house or wherever it should be, where the grain are stored. This is being used extensively in China for the control of insect pests. They use it for cooking purpose, and also when needed it is passed to these big godowns or the bins, receptacles, outdoor metal bins. It is passed through that, and this is how the insect can be controlled. Its exposure period is only 6 days. That is, you have to keep the grains airtight for 6 days for its full effect. This biogas, we had done certain trials in nearby this Sanewal and Doraha area, and we took the water tank of larger capacity where the grain was stored. The farmer has the biogas plant. We used to pass it and conduct the experiment. They could safely store, and PAU have given this recommendation as well. Now the situation looks dismal, discouraging and challenging as well, and we should accept this challenge and try to find the solution for this. Now there is a role to be played by the various agencies. First comes the government. The main cause was inadequate storage facility, and whatever storage facility are, they need to be properly managed. How alarming is the situation, as I have told earlier, that 90% of the food grains in the food wall of the country in Punjab, they are stored in cover and plinth arrangement. That means that is not a proper storage arrangement, and it should be. So I think if the grains are safely stored and the amount equivalent to the safely stored grains, if we could prevent those 10% losses, that can be utilized for generating or raising the adequate storage facilities. Then the scientists have their roles, entomologists, engineer to firm the structures, and we are also raising the silo as well. Pathologists and microbiologists, they need to do research and find the ways and means and keep on updating the knowledge regarding the control of stored insect pests, diseases, molds, and how to save it from the rats and birds. The NGO can play their roles in generating awareness when we say we go regarding the safe storage facilities. And the farmers need to be motivated, farmers need to be facilitated, farmers need to be acquainted that with the safe storage practices of food grains through various campaigns. Safe grain storage campaign could be one. It was being practiced in several districts at the district level. Then consumer, they know to need the value of each grain. Now as you can see, to produce each grain, how much labor is required. We need land, we need fertilizer, the water is used, then there is various techniques which are used to safely store the grains or save the grains. So that is very, very important. So it is not a single job or the approach. It has to be a collective effort, community effort, efforts at various levels, effort at the level of farmer, effort at the level of consumer, efforts at the level of scientist, and very strong efforts to address this problem is to be made by the government. Now you can see, just look at the pictures. On one side you will see that there are children who could not get even a square meal. On the other side, you can see the grains which are being damaged. So a grain saved is equal to a grain produced, and from the grains we select the seed, and if seed is saved, that means thousands of grains are produced. So that is what we need to think about, that is what we need to practice, that is where we put in our best efforts with the collective efforts to save storage of the food grains, so that we could feed the hungry millions. As I have already said, this will be equivalent to another green revolution. Thank you very much.